This is big breaking news. Another massive toxic explosion has just happened today, Wednesday, November 5th, and officials are warning people to evacuate. And we are also seeing officials warn in another area to, quote, not drink the water as well, too. The water is contaminated. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see a massive chemical explosion has happened at a fertilizer plant, causing evacuations. This is ammonia leak that has happened, and officials are warning people to leave the area. All right, you can see here it says emergency crews are responding to an ammonia leak at CF Industries plants on Highway 49, just north of Yazoo City. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency said they were responding to the leak Wednesday afternoon. You can see here's a video of someone that got the footage here. This is Andre Robinson. He's recording this massive explosion that happened in Mississippi. All right, and this is a fertilizer explosion. So fertilizer is typically very explosive, certain types of fertilizer, and this is anhydrous ammonia that is being released into the air. Here's some more information. It says here it released a toxic ammonia leak, forcing evacuations and shelter-in-place orders across the region. The incident, which unfolded late Wednesday afternoon, sent plumes of orange-hued gas billowing into the sky, visible for miles, and prompting a swift multi-agency response to protect nearby residents. The blast occurred around 4:25 p.m. local time at the plant located at the 4600 block of U.S. Highway 49 East, just north of the highway's east-west split. Eyewitnesses, including Andre Robinson, who captured this footage here of the aftermath of a massive churning cloud of smoke rising ominously over the horizon. He said, quote, "We heard a big bang. It about shook the house." He also said, quote, "Something hazardous. I'm sure you're going to see some sirens and everything else real soon." It goes on to say here that authorities wasted no time mobilizing. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency and Mississippi Highway Patrol descended on the scene, closing off Highway 49 and surrounding roads to contain the area. HazMat teams equipped with specialized gear worked frantically to stem the leak and neutralize the airborne hazard. Evacuation orders were issued immediately for residents and businesses in the most vulnerable zones, including the Renshaw Road and Jeanneret Road areas. Shoppers at the nearby Walmart were among the first to be ushered out, with sirens blaring as families grabbed essentials and fled. Quote, "All residents of Yazoo City have been ordered to shelter in place," they have announced, the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, urging those indoors to seal windows, shut off HVAC systems, and avoid any outdoor activity until all clear. A broader shelter-in-place directive extended to the entire city of Yazoo City, home to about 13,000 people, as winds carried the plume northward. Traffic was gridlocked on major routes, and schools in the district were placed on lockdown, with parents scrambling to reunite with children. Social media lit up with frantic posts, with one user warning, quote, "Large explosion, leaking ammonia, which is highly toxic. Close windows and doors." The MEMA, Mississippi Emergency Management Agency spokesperson Scott Simmons provided a brief update from the command center, quote, "Crews were on the scene gathering information, and that he was unaware of any injuries. As of late evening, no casualties or hospitalizations have been reported. A small mercy amid the unfolding crisis." However, officials cautioned that the situation remained fluid and that air quality monitoring was underway to assess the plume spread. So this is a fertilizer production facility, and they've actually had a fatal explosion in the year 2000 as well too, that killed 3 of their workers previously. All right, so we're not sure exactly what happened here. We do know that these fertilizers can be extremely explosive. Experts are warning, though, that while the ammonia dissipates quickly in open air, runoff into nearby waterways like the Yazoo River could pose longer-term risks to wildlife and drinking water. The Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality has deployed monitoring teams, but full assessment may take days. It says for the tight-knit community of Yazoo City, already battered by floods and economic shifts, the explosion hits hard. So this is big for this community, and the surrounding areas could be dealing with this toxic plume in their regions and breathing this. So if you can smell this stuff, try to leave if you can. Try to evacuate. I know that's the harder option, evacuating compared to sheltering in place, but it really is one of these things you don't want to be breathing this stuff in, okay? It can cause respiratory issues. It can cause burns and even blindness in high concentrations, okay? So it can burn your throat, burn your nostrils, burn your airways, and even burn your eyes, okay? So this stuff's very serious. Don't take it lightly, especially if you're in the immediate area. You need to get out of there, okay? You need to evacuate. I know nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to hear that, but you really need to protect yourself and protect your family. All right, let's get into another update here on what's going on in Kentucky, okay? They're warning people to not drink the water. This is concerning, and this is due to this massive UPS plane crash that happened yesterday that I reported on. It is now, when I reported on it, right when it happened, it was only 3 people have passed away. Now it's 12 confirmed people have passed away, sadly, and 1 was a young child. Not sure why a young child was on a UPS cargo plane, but maybe they were on the ground somewhere and got hit by the plane, because this thing made a path of destruction. And it says here, officials expect that number to increase. 15 hurt and 16 people unaccounted for. So that number could rise drastically. It says the left wing of the plane caught on fire during takeoff, and the left engine detached. The cause is not yet determined. That's what I was guessing too, is that potentially this left engine caught on fire, fell off, and then caused it to go into a spin. A state of emergency has been declared in Kentucky. And it says here, air and water should be safe, but people advise not to drink water if you live near the airport. Okay, so that's concerning too. It says a shelter in place has been reduced to a 1/4-mile radius. So, very concerning. All right, they're worried that something's going on with the water. I'm not sure what that even means, but maybe there's some type of reservoir in the area that could potentially be contaminated from this massive explosion. It's either that, or they're worried about groundwater from people that have wells, which people do have wells in this part of the country. It's pretty common, especially in rural areas. But this is right in Louisville, okay? So I don't really think most people in Louisville do not have a well. They are most likely on city water. And city water most likely comes from some type of reservoir situation. So I'm not particularly familiar with where the drinking water would be coming from exactly, but there could have been some type of contamination, it seems, from this explosion, and they're worried that it potentially got in the water, and they're warning people not to drink it. All right, maybe the soil's contaminated and it's leaching in through the pipes. All right, that seems less likely, but my bet is some type of water reservoir is contaminated from this, right? Or they're worried that is, and they're probably doing testing on it right now. Okay, so if you are in the Louisville area, just watch out for your water. Okay, maybe don't drink the tap water right now. Okay, some places the tap water actually is okay to drink. It doesn't have a lot of stuff in it like fluoride and extra things in it, but some places it's not okay to drink. All right, and it does have a lot of these toxic chemicals even added to it or just naturally in it. And just don't drink it right now, all right? Because even things like a water filter, unless it's a reverse osmosis filter that has a very low micron rating for the filter, then you're not going to capture these particles, most likely, okay? Most of these filters are for bacterial and virus capturing, because bacteria cell is a lot larger, if you think about it, thousands of times larger than a single molecule of a single contaminant, okay? That mixes a lot easier with the water, and it becomes a solution almost, and it's almost impossible to remove unless you're doing very advanced filtering techniques like desalinization and reverse osmosis or distillation, okay? So they might not be able to filter these particulates out of the water and these contaminants. That's my point here. And they might have to just start over. They might have to drain the reservoir and refill it if it actually is at risk here. So if you're in Louisville and if you're near this airport, it was a Muhammad Ali International Airport, then you should definitely be on high alert and not be drinking the water, okay? Because there's probably going to be a whole, if it was contaminated, it's going to be a whole mixture of lots of different things. Fuel, plastics, microplastics, carcinogens. A lot of these different things are going to end up in this water, and you don't want to be drinking it. It says here that the fire spread easily to nearby facilities, including a large recycling center. So that's also concerning as well too, because the recycling center has a lot more toxic chemicals as well too, right? That's where people go to dump batteries, dump paints, dump, lots of these toxic things end up at the recycling center and recycle. So if these catch on fire too, they could be released into the air. Very concerning, all right? So there's really not much you can do, right? Your little water filters like a Sawyer Mini or a Life Straw are not going to cut it. They will cut down bacteria and contaminants or viruses, but they're not going to filter out these contaminants, okay? If the water is filled with poison, it's not going to do anything. The Life Straw, the Sawyer Mini, these small water filters, they will do nothing, right? The water could be filled with poison. It won't filter any of it. It only filters out bacteria, so you don't get dysentery and you don't get diarrhea and things like that, or a virus, some type of weird virus from the water. You can also see here, it says for safety reasons, LG&E de-energized power lines into a nearby station in light of the crash, which means service for around 290 customers is interrupted. They also isolated a portion of their gas systems, impacting more than 90 customers. Okay, so people around here they're going to be dealing with this for weeks, most likely months, for this cleanup to entirely be done. And it says here that Beshear, the governor, said Wednesday that people, quote, immediately near the crash site should avoid drinking the water until further notice. Other areas are safe, the governor said. If you are in the suburbs or in other parts of Louisville, you are as safe today as you've been any other day. The air is fine, your water is fine. Hopefully that's true, but you never know with these things like this. It says he's issuing a state of emergency in the aftermath of the crash. This will allow us to move resources more quickly through emergency management and through the Kentucky National Guard. It allows state resources to be used also through our agencies to be readily available, including disaster resource management expenses related to response, and more, as well as reimbursement. In short, the governor said a state of emergency will ensure that groups are limited in funding, or that are limited in funding will be able to receive immediate and short-term help. The UPS said the National Transportation Safety Board is in charge of the investigation and will be the primary source of information. All right, so lots of weird stuff going on. Okay, there was also a major refinery that refines over 100,000 barrels of oil every single day in New Mexico, right on the border of Texas, that had a massive explosion last week too. Shelter-in-place orders, evacuation orders, and this refinery is expected to be shut down for bare minimum weeks, potentially months. We keep seeing this, all right? We keep seeing these industrial accidents, and I'm not sure what's going on. So let me know what you guys think down below. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared out there. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.